I love that. I love that. It is available on her CD in our bookstore. It's our live Christmas nightclub act, and that is one of the many arrangements on it. There's funny stuff on there, and it's available in our bookstore today. I got to tell you, that arrangement was put together by Brian Lasser, who was Karen's piano player and arranger for many years. And Brian was also my guru in New York Cabaret. Brian's the one that let me know I could do things I didn't know I could do. Yeah, in lighting, because Brian started directing things, and he just said, "Well, try this. I didn't know you could try this. I didn't know you could do things like take every gel out of every light and light a show. I didn't know." Brian, this man that we share in many ways. I mean, he was really your brother, husband, and muse and guide and everything, and a much more condensed version. He was mine. Karen didn't even know that till last year when I told her. You see, when you have a passion, you are guided to those who will help you, to those you will help. We're all guided to each other. That star of wonder that she sings about with the three kings and the three wise men are the same people. Depending on who talks. A lot of times, wise men like that, they were intuits, they were mystics, and a lot of times they were rulers, those people. And star represents intuition. And what these three wise men were doing was following their highest intuition. And when you do that, you're always where you're supposed to be. You're not always where you're going to be comfortable. But you are always where you are supposed to be. You know, we used to think, well, if I'm supposed to be, I'll be there. Well, if you're willing to be there, you'll be there. And then wherever you are is where you're supposed to be. But it's not because someone else decided it. Not because a mystic up in the sky with a long beard decided it. And not because a child born on Christmas Day decided it. But because you, in your divine, holy intuition, not your religious intuition, your divine, holy meaning whole, complete. When you say yes to your good, you're always in your right and perfect place. That's why we can always be grateful right now. Always, right now, to say, oh, I didn't know this was a good place. I better give thanks for it so I can see all the blessings. So that I can see every blessing. Years ago when I was afraid of speaking in public, and I spoke in 12-step rooms and things, and that wonderful third-step prayer, which I've taught here so many times, which is, God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt, to relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will, happy, joyous, and free. That I may better do Thy will, take away my difficulties, the victory over them, may bear witness to those I would help, of Thy power, Thy love, Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always, may I always be happy, joyous, and free. It's my interpretation, that happy, joyous, and free part. But I would say that prayer before I would speak publicly, so that I would stop judging myself, so that I would no longer judge myself. I knew that this telling my story was to be of service, not to gratify my ego, nor to crush it. You know, when you get up somewhere and you do something and then you walk off and you tell yourself how awful you were and how everything. So I had to do that both to protect myself, but my protection was love. I learned about self-love. That every act I did had to be an act of self-love. And so therefore, that prayer is a prayer of surrender to the highest good. And once I said the prayer, I no longer had an opportunity to criticize myself. No longer had an opportunity to think poorly of myself. Remember early on in my healing, I went to a doctor. I hadn't been to one in many years. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go get a physical. I'm going to go get all the tests and all that stuff. Go get it all done. I didn't have insurance. I still smoked. And I sat down in front of this doctor that my friend Nancy recommended, and he started to criticize me for not having insurance. I was in my 30s at that point for still smoking. And I said, wait a minute. Here's the deal. What you don't seem to understand is the fact that I'm in this seat is a tremendous act of self-love. And if you're not comfortable with it, I'll go elsewhere. And he pulled it in. He pulled it right in. He got it. And so when the results came back, he sat down with me and he said, "You are in surprisingly good shape for someone like that." I'm not exaggerating at all. He said, "But you still have to quit smoking." But we could laugh at that point. An act of self-love is one step at a time, is one thought at a time, is one lovely gesture at a time. Some of us were brought up with a God that had way too many expectations of us for right now. Like, I'm supposed to have already done it. Well, that's impossible, isn't it? To have already done it, whatever it is. I should already have healed. I should already have done whatever. I should have already have been nice. I should have already... Well, I didn't. I didn't already do it. But would I do it now? That's what we have to ask ourselves. If I had the mind right now, would I be willing? If I had the mind to love myself and that neighbor right now, would I do it? Or do I not want to do it? Do I still want my stuff? I was journaling yesterday, and I really had a long thing, sitting at the McDonald's with my iPad journaling, and asking myself very specific questions. Do I want this? Do I want this? And I don't mean, do I want a new bicycle? I mean, do I want to love my neighbor? Do I want to love myself? Would it be worth giving up my lack? Or is my lack too much of a sacrifice? Is my hatred too much of a sacrifice? Is my confusion too much of a sacrifice? Is that just asking too much of myself to give up? Because, you know, the mind said, "Oh, of course I'd give all that up." Well, if I would, I would have already done it, wouldn't I? So I have to ask myself, because often I didn't know I had the option. I thought I was stuck with my thoughts. I thought I was stuck with this stuff. But you see, we listen to the three wise men, star of wonder, star of bright, star of royal beauty, bright. Westward leading. Guide us to that perfect light. And so, could my prayer be, guide me to the perfect light? And as we keep discovering through our prayer time, that in that guidance, it doesn't wipe away all my desire to hurt myself still. It just gives me the option of loving myself while still having a desire to do the old stuff. When I quit smoking, I realized, I looked at it, I saw a scale. I just had to want to not smoke more than I wanted to smoke. It didn't mean I didn't want to smoke anymore. I just needed to not want to more. And so, I just have to want to love myself more than I want to hurt myself. I just have to want to love what is the truth that is. I just have to want to see more clearly more than I want to be confused. Because then the scale is in my favor for the awakening to right now, for the awakening to this very moment. I couldn't remember what the gifts to the Christ child meant, so I had to type them out here. And it says here that the wise men bring gifts to the Christ child. What is the Christ child? It's not him. I'm the Christ child. I am the Christ child, and it is my highest that got to give some gifts here. But it's the child that has to receive them. And so it says, they bring the gifts to the Christ child, the inner resources of spirit, which are open to the Christ mind. This comes from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, by the way, under wise men, which we have over there, which are open to the Christ mind. Gold represents the riches of spirit, frankincense, the beauty of spirit, and myrrh, the eternity of spirit. So you see, it's not so much about the stuff, it's not the physical stuff, it's the spirit. The spirit, what do the gifts represent? When you go and try for a job, what is the gift you're giving yourself in that? It can't be, oh, I hope they accept me. Because if they don't accept me, then I'm not loved. Well, that's not true. That can't be true. Let's go to simple spiritual logic here. It's not possible to not be loved. Well, if it's not possible to not be loved, then I have to look at things in a different way, don't I? Somebody yells at me, but it's not possible to not be loved. Then Spirit, tell me what's going on here. I need to know the truth, because otherwise I'm going to believe something that isn't true. And so, what's being said here? Maybe they're asking me to love them. Maybe as they're yelling at me, they're asking me to help them change their mind about themselves. Maybe that's one of the things, instead of, oh, they hate me. I'm hateable. Even the grocery store clerk doesn't like me. Yeah, it's good. I forgot about this. Years and years ago, he and I were having some problems. And I was this is a lot of years ago. And I was at my apartment on 44th Street, and I remember I was writing a talk. I was giving a talk that Sunday. I was a guest speaker somewhere. Didn't have this job yet. And I was writing a talk, and my computer died. It just died right there in the middle of the talk. And my first thought was, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to do a talk without notes. For the first time ever, and I called him, and he didn't offer me any solutions about anything. And so I got on the phone with Compaq, and I'm crying. Because I am so not loved. Even my objects don't love me. My appliances don't love me. And 3 hours later, my computer was resurrected on the phone. It was not lost on me that the talk I was writing was called Overcoming. But you see, I could survive that cry. I could survive all those thoughts that I've not, because I waited around for the miracle. I stuck around for the miracle to find out, how's this going to come out? That's how I felt about all through all the not drinking and then putting down the cigarettes. I wanted to find out who I was today without it. And one more day, it's been 20 years now. Now I want to know what's 20 years and 6 months like with not just not using the substances, but doing something instead of the substances. I'm still curious about, because I'm waiting around for yet another miracle, and another miracle, and another miracle. And what is a miracle but an everyday event that I don't understand? Because when I first started my healing journey, I saw these other people who looked amazing, and they're in suits and ties, and they're talking, and they have money, and they have spouses, that they have lives. And they would tell these horror stories about their past. And I thought, oh, so it's possible. So it's so very possible. But I couldn't be there. I couldn't be 6 years down the line. I could only be today. Shawn, today. And Shawn today has to be enough. Whether you like me, whether they like me, whether anybody seems to like me. Today has to be enough. And so sometimes I have to go sit still, not buy anything, not eat anything, and just be. And it always passes. It always passes. And then I see why I had to wait. Because I had to get to this now, and this now, and this now. Because I still love the idea of truth. I still believe it's possible. I'm going to read you one quick thing here. The whole chapter is one paragraph. How about that? This comes from the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. And it's the second chapter of Matthew, which is when the three wise men come, we three kings come. And it says, the truth is shown through guidance. The entire route you are to follow is not revealed from beginning to end all at once, but it is revealed to you step by step. Trust the law. Trust the God within, which guides you. It guides you now. Do not question, where is this taking me? Have faith, it is for the good of all, and the purpose of oneness, and it will certainly bring you great joy. And so, you ask yourself now, would I love to love this journey? And I mean all of it, not compartments. Would I love to love, I'm not asking you to like it, would I love to love this journey? Because God is love. I've never heard that God is like. God is love. And I am made in the image and likeness of love. so I might as well go ahead and live up to my inheritance. To me, you just gotta